we do have a Republican primary, and I thought it might be interesting to just kind of run through the Republican candidates and get the Will Menaker thoughts. We do a lot of bigger picture stuff on the show, talk about capitalism and socialism and all that stuff. But sometimes it's fun to just do this. So
talk about the damn horse race, or it's like the characters that are on your television. The men and women featured in the stories that we watch on TV. And I guess we should preface this by saying, there certainly is not any meaningful Democratic primary, but there isn't a Republican one either.
That's true.
This is just, all of this is just a complete afterthought. Nobody is getting close to Donald Trump. Nobody is going to sniff him in this primary. But that being said, the characters, there's some good characters. It's always fun to see who piles out of like the Munster family house to run for president, particularly on the Republican side.
Yeah, for sure. There is something like, you're right. They're sort of going through the motions in the Republican primary in a way that they're not in the Democratic primary. There are debates, but it is all sort of strangely pointless. And because, obviously, obviously it's Trump. Trump is proven he can literally just not acknowledge the process at all, and it doesn't matter. He's still winning. It's really hard to see, like, short of him just having a heart attack or something. It's really hard to see how any of these guys could actually pull it off. But fuck it, let's talk about the characters. So the one, if we're having this conversation like a couple months ago, the one that everybody would treat as like, oh yeah, he might actually like threaten Trump in some way, is the governor of a state that I lived in for several years, Florida, Ron Desantis.
Ronnie D. Yeah. We just had the Josh, who runs the Twitter account and Substack, Ettingermentum, on the show. And he's an astute elections watcher, and I think the moment that the thing that sums up everything in the Ron DeSantis campaign was his campaign. The fact that he decided to launch his campaign for president, to announce. Everyone knew he was running for years, but to officially launch his presidential campaign, he chooses to launch it on Twitter back when it was still Twitter. But basically to test out Twitter's capacity to live stream video. And just giving over his entire announcement video to Elon Musk was so grating and servile, and also a complete disaster. But the way Josh talked about it is on paper, this looked like the Christopher Walken Dead Zone moment, where you shake Martin Sheen's hand and then you see the missiles are flying. Because it's one of the richest men in the world who's just bought a significant communications platform and is in the process of turning it into a right-wing media organ, combined with a fairly popular extremely right-wing governor who's even diehard on the message of hardcore right-wing social conservatism and let's end schools and ship gay people into zoos or whatever. This did seem like a Dead Zone style nightmare, but it all just deflated so quickly. And obviously any one of these cretins being president is a nightmare. Reality is a nightmare, but DeSantis is just, the thing that I find fascinating about him, I guess, is just that all of the things that make him the same as every other Republican who's ever run for president or would run for president in 2024. Is a detriment to him, but all the things that make him uniquely Ron are even more of a detriment to him, because it's just a guy who it's actually kind of impressive how much political power and how high he has climbed in the American political system, despite really not wanting to talk or touch any other human being ever. He just seems to have an aversion to relating to other human beings, and I know it's all bullshit, how we want our candidates to be people that you want to have a beer with, but it's not total bullshit, because what is the American presidency to the average person? Other than we're giving this guy the nuclear codes, is this someone I could have a beer with? And like that's the trust that you want to imagine yourself placing in the hands of someone who could like end human
The idea of
civilization
having a beer with Governor DeSantis is excruciating.
It's fucking stomach revolting to imagine. And as bad as it would be for you, it would be even worse for him. I mean, I've joked on the show that like I want to send his campaign a gift basket for just like providing us with cheap comedy material throughout the utter doldrums of this past year, trying to find anything entertaining to talk about in American politics, or this presidential race that's still a year away. And just like the clips of him trying to interact with people, or like someone will tell them like, oh, like he'll just be like, what's your name? And he'll be like, oh, I'm Tom or whatever. And he goes, cool, or thanks. Okay, bye. Like just the way he can't hold like even a fake smile on his face for like more than 30 seconds and for it having it just drop off his head, like, just like dandruff, like just falls off his face.
Yeah, it seemed like there was a while where he was smiling a lot more. Like you got the sense that some consultant had told him that he wasn't smiling enough, and then maybe they thought better of it.
And no, yeah, they you got to let Ron be Ron to a certain point. You can't press him to do anything too horrifyingly inauthentic, like talk to another human being or seem to enjoy himself for longer than 10 seconds. But I don't know. I mean, I guess like he is, I guess, like a vision of where the Republican Party is going, at least on like a media level, because like I think he is authentically like an ideologically committed authoritarian dork.
Right.
Like I think that's those are the people that he courts the respect of. I mean, I'm sort of cribbing from Josh, who was on our program, who wrote the definitive 3-part Ron Desantis, The Art of Losing piece that sort of chronicles his entire career from like being a JAG lawyer to a congressman to his first run for Senate, his run for Senate, and then eventually winning the governor's race. And I think like the point he makes is that like when he became governor of Florida, and he became a very popular governor in Florida by basically contrasting himself with Rick Scott, who was like, this awful Tea Party, like, Medicare thief who made a big, and there was like, there's an interesting example that he writes about in this article about the issue of Florida's red tide problem, which Rick Scott made, like an efforts not to do anything about. And Ron DeSantis sort of came into office governing and just sort of appearing to be basically a both sides. Like he appointed Democrats to state offices or various state offices, and became very popular, appearing to be a kind of bipartisan moderate Republican. But then like when the world is his oyster and he thinks like, now's my time to be Ron, the people he surrounds himself with and the issues that like he's made his own are like, basically he wants to impress Ben Shapiro, not the average American voter. Like that's what he believes in. That's who he is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and in a way that's like, I think probably says something, I don't know, maybe something kind of obvious about why Trump did and didn't get it last time, because like the whole Ron DeSantis pitch is like he's running for people who like get excited about pleasing Ben Shapiro, or like who are like, I don't know, super active right-wing Twitter users that like he seems to think that, you're going to get Republican primary voters really, really excited by talking about right-wing policy, and it just doesn't seem to like. Yeah, that seems obviously not.
Yeah, it's like whether you're talking about like the Bernie left, or like democratic socialists in America, or like their right-wing equivalent of like Groypers, or people for whom like neo-Nazi imagery they'd be like, oh yeah, Ron DeSantis is a Nazi Patrick Bateman, and I identify with that, and that's good. That's a good thing to be to me. The thing is, what unites both these groups of people is neither of them own houses or basically have any clout or fucking like any real purchase on the electoral process, or like the type of people politicians care about what they think or fucking try to appeal to.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that he's kind of stopped doing it a little bit. I mean, but just the way that Ron, like every other word out of his mouth was woke. Like, I just think, I think there's like a reason that didn't land. I mean, I think actually like Donald Trump, when he was like, woke, I don't know what that means, like that's like,
Like he doesn't have to talk about it. He can just be about it. Like he doesn't have to talk about complain about wokeness or cancel culture. I mean, he does talk about cancel culture, because now he's talking about they indicted me, because he's a real one. He's not getting canceled. He's getting hit with 90 felonies. Like Trump can just be Trump, and like his very existence is a blasphemy to the woke people. So like he doesn't need to bitch about it all the time like Ron does, which makes you kind of, honestly, if you talk about wokeness enough, you just start to become woke. You just start to, if not in the actual content of your belief.
No, but you become annoying in exactly the same way.
Yeah.
No, that's, I think, definitely true. Before we leave the state of Florida, should just take a moment to just a beat for Miami Mayor Francis Suarez, who dropped out.
Really?
He shot his shot, but he decided that it wasn't going to happen.
Well, I mean, like, at least he can dedicate himself full time to Miami Coin, the cryptocurrency that will revolutionize municipal funding.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, if Ron is yesterday's news and Francis was never any news, I guess today's news is Vivek Ramaswamy.
Wow, I mean, where to start with this guy? I mean, like, okay, I'll probably. I don't know. It's hard to say whose voice is more annoying, his or Ron Desantis, but I think I'm going to give an edge to Ron Desantis. But like Vivek's whole shtick is deeply annoying. I mean, he just seems like lab created. He's I guess sort of like the right wing Pete Buttigieg, but like I don't think he's even like I think he's like naturally right wing in his beliefs, but I don't think he really believes anything. He's the guy who got rich peddling some fake Alzheimer's drug and then like just busted out the company Goodfellas style. Thousands of people lost their jobs, not to mention promoting a fake cure for Alzheimer's.
Yeah. And I mean, he does, like, okay, obviously the fact that he wrote his book, was it Woke Inc. or something like that. He was another person who was going to try talking about wokeness all the time and then, thought better of it. But like in there, I mean, he says all this stuff about like Trump and January 6th to like try to position himself as this like, oh, I'm a conservative, I hate wokeness. But, don't be wrong, I don't like that guy. And, now it seems like, he's pretty blatantly running for, I don't know, vice president or Secretary of Transportation or whatever, Trump feels like getting him.
I mean, this is a point Felix has made about Vivek, but like he has been clever in so much as that like he is very much auditioning to be like I'm the cool millennial Donald Trump, or like I'm the outsider. I'm filling the outsider like lane in a Republican presidential primary, but like he's been very, despite the fact that like you said, like he's licked his finger and stuck it to the wind after January 6th and was like, okay, I have to like distance myself from this, and then of course now is just like he's like, well, I would have handled it differently, but what he says now about January 6th is that like, oh, he wouldn't have done it, but he would have started running for president like that day. And I'm like, okay, great, thanks. But with him though, like he doesn't really talk about Trump that often, and like he doesn't like he tries to like stay away from Donald Trump and just let other people fill in the gaps in their head rather than like sweatily trying to like ask for an endorsement or like say or just consciously copy him too much.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I mean, at the debate, of course, he said that there was like he was sort of, I guess maybe this is a joke I didn't quite get, like that he sort of introduced himself by like self-consciously copying Obama. Like,
where he was like, who's this skinny brown kid with a funny name? Why is he up here? Yeah. I mean, I think he's cribbing a lot from Pete Buttigieg and Andrew Yang, I think. But like, I mean, like his actual personality and beliefs are somehow even more repellent than Pete Buttigieg and Andrew Yang's.
Yeah, exactly. He's got this mantra that he repeats a lot. He seems to think works really well for him because he finds ways to wedge it in a lot of different places. His like list of like, it's like the It's like that spoken word album that Homer Simpson has, the This I Believe.
These things I believe, yeah. By Johnny Calhoun. who jumped to the top of the charts with "I Want a Genie in a Magic Bikini." But yeah, no, I'd like to like number two, like God is real. There are two genders. Like this is like his his like Moses with the Ten Commandments, and reverse racism is racism. And I think my favorite one is that was it like human flourishing requires fossil fuel.
Man, I really hope not.
yeah, no, I mean, like, I guess for like the present, this immediate second, yeah, it'd be pretty terrifying to imagine if all that went away. But
if human flourishing requires fossil fuels, that's a pretty bleak vision of.
And also, like, we've only been burning fossil fuels for like a couple hundred years, like not that long. Human civilization has flourished many times before, and probably maybe will again. But for the foreseeable future,
unless Vivek has some sort of belief that they're an unlimited supply of fossil fuels, it just seems like if human flourishing requires it, we're not going to flourish, like for very long, kind of regardless.
I don't know, maybe he believes in ancient aliens or something like that.
I hope so. Yeah. 7 is also good. The nuclear family is the greatest form of governance known to mankind.
Once again, like a fairly new invention, like so similar to burning fossil fuels. But hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, I guess. Capitalism lifts people up from poverty, so it's staking out the pro-capitalism lane in the Republican primary.
Bold of him to do that.
There are 3 branches of government, not 4. I guess that's a reference to the
deep state.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw. This is really masochistic, but I actually watched his Club Random appearance.
Oh, excellent! Oh my God, yes. Oh, he was just on Club Random, Vivek.
Yeah.
Oh, he's the perfect guest. He's the perfect guest.
Yeah.
How low or high on the Dreyfus scale was he sitting in the Club Random sofa chair?
Yeah, he was pretty like his legs were pretty splayed out, as I recall. But yeah, it was. I mean, it was funny, like what Bill was like scandalized about and wanted to fight about, like a lot of Trump stuff, and like I think he thought it was crazy that Vivek wanted to. Wants to like abolish the FBI. That's the thing that really bothered him, and they spent a while arguing about whether you could replace it with like expanding the U.S. Marshals, which is the Vivek.
Yes, that's what we should do. Should it be all Raylan Givens? All Raylan Givens is put that they really need one federal law enforcement agency, and it's the U.S. Marshals, the cool guys.
Yeah, well, that would obviously be much better than the FBI.
Yeah.
But it's like all the shit that like Vivek says that doesn't get.
The FBI has gone woke. The FBI is woke. The U.S. Marshals are based, and all other federal law enforcement is cringe and cope.
Yeah, I mean, this is confusing to me on kind of a fundamental level, because I mean, one of the things I thought I understood about conservatives was that, like, right there with God is real and there are only 2 genders, was that cops are good.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know what? Like, federal cops have never been good for the right wing. They've never liked the ATF, FBI, and you know what? Good on them. I don't like all these federal law enforcement agencies. I think we should get rid of the FBI. But what Vivek wants is essentially to replace the FBI with like the sheriff's departments who are, all in Nazi gangs or whatever.
Yes, and certainly, like, I mean, the stuff that didn't come up was like, I don't know. I mean, Vivek also has said stuff. He said it at the debate, right? That he wants to like send drones to like assassinate like Mexicans trying to cross the U.S. border.
Yeah.
Like,
no, it's like as the Republican Party now becomes, obviously, of course, and I say this totally credibly and sincerely, the party of peace. Let's be honest, they're the party that's opposed to the U.S. global military empire, except when it comes to Taiwan and Mexico. They'd very much like the U.S. military to get involved in both of those situations, and like the invading Mexico thing is so insane to me, because like if you think we have a border crisis now. Yeah. What the fuck do you think is going to happen when we declare war on the country that we share a border with?
Yes. Yeah, right. Exactly. No, it is wild. Like when Vivek, like there was a moment at the debate when he was arguing with with Nikki Haley about Ukraine. And like when he's argued about Ukraine, Vivek has moments where he sounds like he could be in Code Pink, but there are like, I remember he told Nikki Haley, you know, I wish you the best of your luck in your future career on the boards of Lockheed and Raytheon. But then,
he kind of went off with that one.
Yeah. Then he also wants to, he also wants to invade Mexico, and he explicitly says, at least until we achieve semiconductor independence, because after that, fuck him. But like at least until then, if the exact same scenario that's just played out in Eastern Europe happens in East Asia, we should start World War III.
Yeah.
That's I don't know. I mean, like I had several I don't know, that's like I've been hearing this stuff for a long time about how the Republicans are all are becoming anti-interventionist now, and it's kind of hard to square that. But while we're talking about her, I don't think anybody's idea of a major presence in the race, but yeah, let's do Nikki Haley, former Congresswoman, Governor of South Carolina, Ambassador to the United Nations, and probably the next Republican nominee.
I mean, she would have been a good nominee in the Republican Party if this were like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Like she's like, representing that kind of like the old neoconservative brand, which is, suffered a bit as of lately. I mean, but like we were saying, we're just talking like Trump appointed John Bolton to be his national security advisor. So like, I don't want to hear any of this shit about how like, the new Republican Party, they're so different than these neocons. Fucking Joe Biden just appointed Elliot Abrams to his fucking administration, and Elliot Abrams was in the Trump administration too. So like, these guys, they never go away, and they're never becoming.
No, and I mean Trump assassinated Soleimani, withdrew from the nuclear deal, moved the embassy to Jerusalem, doubled the rate of drone strikes in Yemen. And while we're at it, by the way, sent heavier weaponry to Ukraine than Obama was willing to, because he thought it was too escalatory. So like this, I mean, it doesn't, but I mean, like, that's kind of the thing. I mean, like, it sort of feels trite to say, but like one of the obvious things about Trump and Trumpism is it doesn't really matter what he does. Like all that matters is the vibe.
Yeah. We're in the vibe times now. Yeah, we can just sort of have fun with that. I don't know. I mean, like Haley, I guess like the interesting thing about her is that like she was before like woke went in the toilet and people like pretended that they weren't doing nothing but talking about that for the last year and a half or whatever. Haley was the one that I thought was making like a semi-convincing pitch to be like, well, we're not woke in South Carolina, but we're not assholes either, because like she did that thing like where she took down the Confederate flag after that horrible shooting, was like the massacre of those old black people in the church, the Dylan Roof shooting. And then like, but that's not going to win her any points in this Republican Party. Are you kidding me? She's dead. She's done. Bye-bye, honey.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like her whole thing is that she's going to be sort of more like unabashedly neoconservative than current vibes permit. And also she's going to say things like, oh, we shouldn't be talking about a federal abortion ban because it's like unpopular and we don't have the votes for it anyway, which is like, what are you doing? Like, why would you say that on a debate stage in the Republican Party?
Well, I mean, probably because you can see the writing on the fucking wall, and like she's only saying what all their advisors, all the consultants that they hire to like read the polls that they're telling them, which is like, now they're having behind smoke-filled room meetings, like Mitch McConnell's people and Senate Republicans, because they're looking at this next election cycle, and they're like, we got to stop calling it pro-life. Which is already a term of art. It's already like, because I've been chided before by referring to the anti-abortion position as pro-life, because it's like, ceding too much to their self reporting on how much they love human life. But I understand the criticism, but it is what they've been calling themselves. Sure. And now they're just trying to say, oh, we're pro-baby or whatever. And it's like,
because that's the problem.
It's what people are upset about. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, it's not that once you actually start banning abortion, it turns out that like when people actually have to deal with the consequences of that policy, like everybody kind of hates it, and it's and like you like crushingly lose elections about it in places like Kansas.
Yeah.
No, I don't think the word life was the issue there. While we were in South Carolina is also Tim Scott.
Oh, Tim Scott. Okay, Tim Scott. Folks, the Washington Post is not very nice to Mr. Scott. They've been very cheeky about Mr. Scott and his girlfriend from Canada. I mean, what else is that? Once again, like I think like 15 years ago, Tim Scott would be, I mean, outside the obvious issue, would be a pretty brilliant choice for the Republican Party because he's sort of bland and inoffensive, but reliably right wing. But I mean, it's she's got to show us the girlfriend. Got to show us the girlfriend picture.
Yeah, even 15 years ago, he would have had to hire an actual girlfriend.
And I won't be too churlish about it, but I will note that he is running for the nomination of a party that is stridently homophobic and opposed to the rights of gay and trans people.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that is
like Tim Scott and all his girlfriends. It's like when the government keeps having hearings about aliens, and they're like they're definitely real, and I'm like, I need a video or a photo, or I want to hear about any of this shit about declass. Some whistleblower is talking about all the non-human biologics. You got a movie studio in your pocket. You got to show me something before I get on board with even this obvious bullshit.
Yeah, well, the whistleblower who doesn't even claim to have seen the non-human biologics, it's that he talked to a guy who told him there were non-human biologics and he believed it. Although, I guess to be fair, they did show the ET mummies in Mexico. So
yeah, well, those are really good. If that doesn't convince you, I don't know what will.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So I guess there is Mike Pence, who fun trivia fact used to be vice president of the United States.
I mean, he's got less of a chance than even the rest of these fucking losers. I mean, like they were trying to kill his ass not too long ago. These are the people whose votes he's asking for.
Yeah,
he's a traitor. He's a traitor and a loser. Get him out of here. He's done.
And it's so funny, like, okay, I understand, I think, like, I understand what, like, Christie is doing. I think he's running for, like, a spot on MSNBC or CNN.
Yeah, he thinks he can, like, if he bloodies Trump's nose a few times, which he's, like, not even going to get a chance to do, yeah, he'll get a carrot instead of a stick.
Yeah, right. So I understand what Christie is doing. I understand what Vivek is doing. I think he's, running for a position in the Trump administration. I even sort of understand what Ron Desantis thinks he's doing, although I think it's incredibly weird and incompetent because he can't quite decide.
It's insane to me that he chose to run in 2024.
Yeah.
Like he would have been so perfectly set up if he had just waited one more election cycle. But now he's like, he has totally exposed himself as like a buffoon, incapable of not up to the task, and also alienated himself from the entire Republican Party, which is Trump's party.
Yeah, I mean, before that, he'd been doing real good as a Trump sycophant. Like, I don't know why he couldn't have. I mean, I guess the idea is that he wouldn't be able to run with as much prominence because he wouldn't be governor. But no, it was a really bad idea. But it's like, I do not understand what Mike Pence thinks he's doing.
It's baffling.
Because
I guess it's just like he's just running. He's like old and he's just running the algorithm where like, hey, if you were vice president, you run for president, but vice president of a one-term president is not exactly the stunning resume. But
vice president of a one-term president who's also wildly unpopular among supporters of that guy.
Yeah,
and who you're also running against him.
And the thing it's funny about Pence, at least in results to like why January 6th and like the fact that like, he wasn't going to put himself out there to like certify a fake election on behalf of his boss. And the thing is, like, that's no credit to Mike Pence. Like, believe me, like, if, as I'm sure, we were both learned men, we were both learned, cultured men. If it had been reasonably close, they all would have fucking stolen that election like they did many times before. But like, not only did they have to overturn the results of Georgia, but then Michigan and Arizona as well. All the votes have been done counted. They've been done counting. So like, in those meetings that were now like coming out as part of these indictments, it was very clear that like Pence was just sort of like, he was the motherfucker taking notes on a criminal conspiracy because he was like, I want this all in the minutes because like I know how, like, look, he's no dummy. He knows what the power of the federal government is, and he knows that like he in those minutes, in those meetings, he can't be the guy being like, yeah, I would love to enlist please enlist my help in this criminal conspiracy. He knew he saw the writing on the wall. He knew that like there was just this was just too heavy a lift, and like he did not have anything close to the juice to be able to just declare Trump the winner of that election as vice president because the Constitution allows him to do so.
Well, this is the thing, because like every time January 6th comes up, Pence sounds like Chris Christie, but literally the entire rest of the time, he talks about like the accomplishments and achievements of the Trump-Pence administration, and he even like there was that moment in the the debate where they asked people to raise their hand if they would still like if Trump got the nomination and then he went to prison, would they still support him? And like everybody sort of commented on how funny it was that Ron looked to both sides before he raised his hand.
Yes.
But like, to me, the craziest thing about that is that Mike Pence raised his hand for that, right? Like, what's the point of Mike Pence?
Well, I mean, we've talked about this on my show as well. And it gets like the fundamental, and this is why there really is no Republican primary, because the fundamental problem that they all face is Trump's overwhelming popularity and loyalty of the Republican voters to Donald Trump, the individual, not the Republican Party. But also, like, to be a Republican, or like in the mainstream of the Republican Party today, you basically have to believe that Joe Biden is an illegitimate president and that Donald Trump is the legitimate, still elected president of the United States. So to run against him in any kind of presidential election or a primary is to betray the U.S. Constitution. Like, it's just, how do you say that you believe Trump when he says that like the 2020 election was fraudulent, and then run against him, the man who was, illegitimately taken from power by a, deep state coup or the the democratic process?
Right now, but I don't want to give him another chance.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
honestly, like if I think here's an interesting thought experiment. Like a way for potentially Ron Desantis or any of these other Republicans to sort of square this impossible circle is to just be like, yeah, like he is right. The election was fraudulent. It was a coup against him, but like he can't get back in there because he's a loser. Like, he had complained about the deep state forever, but when it came down to it, they cooed his ass real fucking easy, and now he's like showing up to be, have his mugshot taken. He's not going to lead the revolution. He's already capitulated.
Yeah, and when he like sold the mugshot merch, like I think it actually says like "never surrender" on it. It's like, well, literally,
it's like you just surrender to the yeah.
This is the picture of you that was taken after you surrendered yourself.
We've like imagining what would happen if Trump just decided to say, "Fuck these indictments, come get me at Mar-a-Lago." Like, I'm not showing up for any of this. Like, I have like the Avignon papacy in Mar-a-Lago, and then putting the onus on Ron DeSantis to have like Florida state troopers be his Praetorian guard to protect him from like process servers or the FBI or the Justice Department. Yeah.
Make him follow up on that or not, because either way it'd be hilarious, and either way, like, Trump massively benefits from either making Ron DeSantis do that or making Ron DeSantis back down and not do it.
Yeah.
That's it was pretty weak. I mean, it is also like really funny the way that everybody, like, for the longest time, I think maybe they're starting to say it less, but it's like people like horse race commentators will say like, oh, well, Trump's obviously going to get it unless his legal trouble like becomes such that he couldn't. It's like, well, what's the scenario here? Like that people just like Republican voters just abandon him because of it? Because I'm pretty sure that ship has sailed.
And like he seems to get more popular the more indicted he gets, particularly among Republican voters. So, I mean, it's just a question of like, we talked about it before. Eugene Debs ran for president from prison. Sure. The question is like, could you actually be president from prison, and how would that work?
Yeah, I mean, presumably he would just pardon himself.
I guess so, but the Georgia charges aren't federal.
Ooh, good call.
So okay. I mean, like he could be president from like a Georgia area prison, and then like the Secret Service is like his Aryan Brotherhood or whatever. Like he has to have some sort of, or make a deal with like the Mexican mafia or Black guerrilla family to keep him protected on the inside and still head of state. But or I don't know, like
I feel like if
probably give him house arrest in Mar-a-Lago or something.
I don't know. I feel like if Oz had gone on for a couple more seasons, that would have been a plot line they would have done. That like the
big guy with a little hat. He's got a little hat. His name's Adebisi. Adebisi, folks. He's got a little hat. But this guy's Popeye. We love him. We love him.
I mean, I can literally imagine how they would have done that with the, him like sitting down at the table or whatever in the yard with like flanked by Secret Service agents to negotiate with Adebisi and Schellinger.
Yeah. Riley's putting crushed up glass in his McDonald's Fish Delight.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So we have mentioned him a couple of times, but there's also former New Jersey Governor Christie, who I think, like, okay, again, you could argue about, I mean, Mike Pence, I think, is just running for president because he doesn't know what else to do with himself. That's all I could figure out, that like he doesn't
want to face the howling void inside his heart and skull.
Yeah. But Christie, at least it seems reasonably clear what he is doing, and it seems like a lot of libs have decided to let bygones be bygones with Christie, like because he does the one thing that they care about, and and he attacks Donald Trump.
Yeah, but like not effectively. When's the last he bodied little Marco. He bodied little Marco, but I don't know if Christie's ever laid a glove on Trump. I mean, Trump dog walks him. Trump, like he's a sidekick. That he's just a heel. That like Trump, it's just so fun to watch Trump just shit all over him. Like it's great. He's just like a sidekick. Like he's just there to be beat up on by Trump.
Well, that is also
and he's not laying a glove on him.
No. Like, and that's the thing too, that like it would be so much more credible. I mean, actually, literally don't even know who the Republicans are that would be in a good position to do this. Like, who anybody's ever heard of. I mean, maybe, like not like David French or somebody, but like but like Christie is also like the least credible possible messenger for, I have too much integrity to like Donald Trump. I'm a I just have this principled objection to Donald Trump because he spent like years like hanging around and letting Trump make fat jokes about him and getting his like laundry and McDonald's for him and being promised that he would be appointed for different things, and then like having the football be yanked away at the last possible moment. I mean, that lasted literally for a few years.
The only conceivable national Republican figure who could like actually son Trump on a debate stage or out alpha him is Arnold Schwarzenegger. And he's prevented from running for president by our stupid Constitution. Not Arnold Schwarzenegger now, because he's basically just become a Democrat. And like, he's like, I don't think he can really speak to Republicans anymore, but like the Schwarzenegger of like, that ran for governor of California and won. Like, that's like that. Arnie would put Donald in it. He would do to Donald what Donald does to Chris Christie. Like, if you ever watched the movie Pumping Iron, he would just use his like ruthless alpha psychology to just absolutely like physically and mentally dominate Donald Trump. He would do to Donald Trump what he did to Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah, I would even if I knew all the money was going to the two of them, I would pay a lot for a ticket to watch Donald Trump debate Pumping Iron era Arnold Schwarzenegger when he's like talking about how a pump is better than a cum, and all of this stuff. Like just see how that played off against Trump. All right, we have Wow. Apparently, there's somebody named Ryan Binkley, who's the co-founder and lead pastor of Create Church, who's running for president. But I think we can.
Ryan Binky? I've literally never heard of this guy.
Uh,
I thought I was doing pretty good knowing about Doug Burgum.
yeah. Well, okay. Yeah. No, I am like this is literally. I'm looking at this list. This is the first I'm hearing about Ryan Binkley. So I don't think Binkley is. I don't think Binkley is.
I've really never heard of him. I have no fucking idea who this guy is.
Take it off. Doug Burgum. I think literally the only thing I know about Doug Burgum is that he somehow made it into the Republican debate and he'd like injured himself beforehand.
And he made it into the debate with this like weird donation strategy where if like and barely legal where like if you donated $1 you would get $20 back or something. So it's like just like paying people to be so he reaches like the small donor threshold to get on the stage. I mean, was he like governor of like North Dakota, one of the Dakotas, or senator or congressman? He's from the Dakotas.
Yeah, North Dakota.
He's got like big, thick, like Brezhnev eyebrows, which I respect in a leader. He sort of looks like a wolf man. Yeah, that's basically all I know about Doug Burgum. But once again, he's a nobody and he's going nowhere.
Yeah, which is funny, by the way. Mentioned Brezhnev because I actually looked this up the other day because when people talk about how old all of the most important politicians in the U.S. are right now, I hear these like late USSR jokes a lot, but I just got curious about this the other day and Googled it. Brezhnev, when he died in office, was not quite 76. He was like close to 70.
Okay. I like just earlier today, I was on the Talking Simpsons podcast and we did the Mr. Plow episode.
Yeah.
And if you'll remember from that episode, there's a joke in Homer's public access commercial where like you get a free T-shirt and it says Stockwell for Veep, and he goes, he can still surprise you, but it was like the Ross Perot's VP candidate, which is widely regarded to be like his appearance on the debate stage in the vice presidential debate was like ended the Perot campaign and was widely regarded to be like one of the most embarrassing displays because he was like trying to turn on his hearing aid and he just didn't seem to know where he was and he was just doddering and it was a disaster for Perot. We were just talking about that on Talking Simpsons. He was 69 when that happened. 69.
Yeah.
He's like a decade younger than Joe Biden.
Yeah, which is also, while we're doing the Soviet Union, Andropov was a few months short of his 70th birthday when he died in office, and Chernenko was 74. So that's the so the oldest of those guys, the Soviet leaders who died as like extremely old men in office. The oldest of them was a year younger, or the oldest of them was over a year younger than Trump and 4 years younger than Biden.
Well, I mean, like I'll lead the listeners to draw whatever conclusions or parallels they would like from this comparison. But all I'll say is, very, very good sign for the long-term viability of any political and economic system when the people in charge of it are literally all decrepit mummies who nobody believes in or trusts at all.
Yeah. Fair enough. All right. Out of the only other name I recognize here at all is Asa Hutchinson.
Oh, wow. Asa.
Yeah, let's see.
Trump says I call him Ada. I call him Ada Hutchinson.
But he won't say why.
No. I'll leave that to cruder people.
Yeah. That's apparently I remember this actually. So at the debate, he was like bringing up the fact that he was like the head of the DEA under W because like that made him tough, which I think will make precisely nobody look twice at him in this cycle. So let's not look twice at him either. I want to.
He's going for all the fans of Hank Schrader from Breaking Bad. Everyone loves Uncle Hank, and he wants just a little glint of that DEA shine from his big bald dome.
You have been watching free public content from Give Them an Argument. To access every single episode of the show, the main show on Monday nights, all of the streams, all of the debate breakdowns, all of the patron exclusive post games on Monday nights, all of the patron exclusive bonus episodes every week, and much, much more. Go to patreon.com/Ben Burgis. I cannot resist ending this with, don't be foolish.